Hi there. Today what I'd like to do is I'd like to explain how you're going to be glazing your pinch cups with texture that we made a while back. The most important thing about glazing these is to make sure that you are utilizing a texture showing glaze. I have several glazes which will enhance and really kind of show off texture, and then there are some glazes which will actually just completely cover it up. You might remember that I have the glaze tiles back in the glazing area, and I also have these little cups for the dipping glazes. Now for this project, for our cups, we are going to dip them rather than brush. Now when you look at these little cups, you can see a distinct difference between a glaze which will help show off texture and a glaze which hides texture. So make sure that you're always selecting a glaze which will help to enhance your texture and not cover it. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the foot of this cup for glazing by dipping it, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of wax. Now my wax resist is in little containers, and you want to use a nice clean brush for this, and all it takes is one coat. I want to glaze the bottom of the foot, and I'm going to glaze up the edge just a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch or so, and then I'm also going to glaze the inside of the foot, but this bottom part is not glazed because it's not waxed, because I am going to glaze that in there. It only takes a few seconds for it to dry, and when it has dried, then I'll be ready to dip it. Okay, for the glaze on this little cup, I'm going to use two different glazes. I'm going to glaze the interior a nice hazelnut satin, and I'm going to glaze the exterior in root beer. Now, hazelnut satin is not a good texture showing glaze, but it is a very pretty glaze, so I'm going to be putting it on the inside only. Now, I'm going to take my whisk. I'm going to make sure that the glaze is evenly mixed up. If it is thick on the bottom and thin on the top, it's not going to glaze properly. Okay, you can now see that I have my glaze mixed evenly. I'm going to set my whisk over in the sink. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour glaze on the inside first. You always want to start with the inside, because when you pour it out, if you dribble on the outside, you can always wipe it off. So I'm going to pour the glaze, and then I'm going to use kind of a quick motion, pour it out. Didn't quite get all of the inside there. Try that again. There we go. Okay, and then what I'm also going to do on this is I'm just going to dip the rim. About 1/2 inch on the rim. Okay. I'm going to wait until it dries, and I'm going to wipe off that little spot right there where it kind of dribbled. And I am going to give it a nice shake just to make sure if there's anything real runny that it's going to come off. There we go. All right, I'll set that to the side. And when that dries in a couple of minutes, I'll be ready to show you the next one. Before I dip it into the second glaze, I am going to take my sponge, and I'm going to try to carefully remove where I dribbled on the exterior. That's close enough. Okay? For your cups, you certainly do not have to do two different colors. I am just choosing an inside and an outside one that coordinate together, but you could do it all one color if you want. If you choose to make your cups all one color, it's very easy to dip it in holding the handle. You would just dip it, submerge it all the way up to about your fingers, and when that's dry, you would turn and do the other part of the handle. But for this one, I'm going to mix up my root beer, and then I'm going to dip the outside. Okay, that looks pretty good. Set that on the lid. Always make sure that you wash your whisks when you're done. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to make sure that I get the bottom part of the foot there, and I'm going to submerge it down just beneath my fingers. And I can kind of knock off some of that excess there. And then when that stops dripping, I'm good to just set it down, let it dry, and then I'll sponge off the foot where the wax was after it's dry. And that's glazing your little cups.